Hi, everyone. Welcome to our One More Thought podcast. I'm Jackie White. I'm the founding pastor at Church on the Rock, and today I have a very special guest with me, my wife, Linda. Linda, welcome to One More Thought. We're glad you're with us today.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
Hey, we have been enjoying the last year and even for the last couple of years. Last year, we celebrated our 50th anniversary. And today we're talking about family and everything pertaining to family, marriage and parenting and all of that stuff. And so after 50 years, I feel like we're the experts.
You think so?
Do you agree?
No.
No, we still have a lot to learn, don't we?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being with us. We just want to talk a little bit just from our hearts and from our experience and just hopefully encourage our families. You know, this world is kind of hard today. Just living and navigating all the stuff that's going on in the world, it's not easy. And marriage has its own set of problems from time to time. So let's start there. Let's talk about marriage. Tell me, what is the number one thing that helps make a marriage successful in your mind? What do you think of?
Well, I know it's kind of cliche, but I've got to say, keeping the Lord the center of it.
Yeah.
I mean, after 50 years, I don't know many people that make it for lots of years without both of them serving God, because marriage is just hard. It's two selfish people trying to put their lives together, and you've just got to work on that. Yeah. And God makes it a lot easier.
A lot of times it's God that keeps us together when both of us might want to go our separate ways, but it's the Lord. I'm reminded of that scripture in Ecclesiastes where it talks about the threefold cord and how God has to be a part of that relationship. Yeah. I think that's very, very important. What else? What else makes a marriage successful?
Well, I was thinking about this morning, and I thought the first thing that makes it successful is choosing the right person for you. Now, some of you may be way past that, and you feel like I didn't choose well, but God can still make it okay. Yeah. But, it's just, there's the old things of communication. Yes, that's key. But I think it is just, I do think that's huge. You've got to keep talking. Yeah. Sometime after 50 years, you think, I've said everything I know to say. But there's always more to say.
That's right.
So you've just got to stay in relationship with each other. I think too many people just live in the same home after a while, and they don't really have that relationship they need.
I've found that in life, the choices we make on a day-by-day basis build up. One decision leads to the next, one choice leads to the next, and all of a sudden we look up and we've made all of these choices that have put us in this place where it's very difficult for us to remove ourselves from. It's how we're going to live because we've been building our life on these choices. I think every day we have to make the choice. Number one, I'm going to love you. And we make the choice that I'm with you. Regardless of what comes, I'm going to be your helper. I'm going to be your partner. And I think it comes down to making a willful choice at times. I know when we were young, I thought, man, I'm always going to love her. But the love wasn't really a mature love. It was just the emotion I was feeling as a young person attracted to another individual. What does that say to you? How do you relate to that?
I agree. I mean, love is really a choice.
You have to choose it every day for me, don't you?
I do.
That's good.
Oh.
You wrote in your notes that you gave to me that we have to fight for one another. Tell me what that means to you.
I think through the years, we change. People change. And I change, you change. And instead of letting changes in our life make us fight against each other, I think we have to fight for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And by that, I mean, there's been times in ministry when you've gone through a hard time. And I could get on the bandwagon of fighting against you about things, or I can fight for you and say, no, you're not doing the wrong thing. We can do this together.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just being there for each other and always choosing you first over other people. Sometimes we can get in a bad frame of mind and think you're wrong and somebody else is right. And whether that's true or not, you're the one I married, and I'm going to fight for you.
That's good. Sometimes I think that fight takes place just inside of me. And I think men especially need to understand this, that there are always going to be attractive women in this world. But I've made a commitment to you. I have a covenant with you. And part of the fight is that I'm not going to I fight myself and say, I'm not going to allow myself to even entertain the thoughts of anyone other than you being that significant person in my life. And I think that's very, very important.
Yeah.
I think in marriage, over the years, what I've seen is that some of the greatest struggles in marriage come from family, and I'm talking about maybe the family outside of the couple. It could be their children. It could be their parents. It could be other family members that put pressure on them. Talk about that just a minute. Have you seen that from time to time?
Well, yeah, there's always pressure from the outside. And I think that's why it's more important that the two of you, not that we don't hear other people's counsel, because sometimes there is the need for outside counsel. But at the end of the day, you and I have to come together.
Right.
And agree of where we're going to stand and how we're going to move forward. And I think that's fighting for each other.
Yeah.
You know, fighting for our marriage.
So many things get in the way. Business gets in the way. Ministry gets in the way. We spent our last 50 years in ministry. It's easy to put things before your marriage. Kids get in the way. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
That our relationship, our marriage stays number one. It's more important than what our kids are doing. It's more important. It has to be more important than even what the ministry is demanding of me at the moment.
Yeah.
And
I think for the woman, the kids is probably the number one thing.
yeah,
That and I don't think it's intentional. I think it's because kids require so much of our time. And you know, time with them means time not with you sometimes.
yeah,
And I think we went through this a little bit. I think I got so invested in the girls, especially when they're at college and you're going to see them and you're just get busy with life, and then they're gone and you realize, oh, but he's not going anywhere.
yeah.
So I got to work on this.
That empty nest thing.
Yeah,
That was kind of a struggle for us.
it was a struggle.
I remember you coming to me saying, "Hey, listen, buddy, the girls are gone. They've moved out of the house. You've got to start talking to me." And it's still a struggle at times. I'm like most men. We use up all our words and we come home, we don't want to say anything.
Yeah.
But that's part of the fight. We have to
It
fight
is.
for one another. Well, as you mentioned kids, it kind of leads into the second thing. We're talking about marriage. I also want to talk about parenting a little bit. What comes to your mind when I ask you something like this? What's important when it comes to being a good parent?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is loving them well.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody loves their kids, but love means a lot more than just the feeling of love. It's taking care of them when they're little and when they're older. But love means showing up for them,
Yeah.
you know, in their school activities, in whatever they choose to do in life. We show up for them. I think that's one of the most important things. It's just being there for your kids. And
good.
this world is so busy. It's so easy for you to have business meetings after work and at night. You just can't do that. You got to draw lines and choose your family.
You know, when I hear you say we've got to be there for our kids, we have to love them. One of the things that I found over the years is that no kids are the same.
Yeah.
We had 3 daughters, and they were all very distinct, very unique. And when it came to showing them love, yeah, we love them all. We say, oh, I love you all the same. But it really isn't the same. We have to be there for them and show them love in a particular way. Mm-hmm. And that means we've got to get to know our kids. We've got to learn who they are. We've got to learn what communicates to them, what speaks love to them. Yeah. Even in discipline, sometimes it has to take a different form because of who that child is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I've learned, and I think is really key, I think there was an older lady in my life back several years ago that kind of encouraged me in this, was really spending time every day listening. And she said to me, she said she had 5 kids, and she said they all talk different, mm-hmm. and you've got to learn how they communicate. And I thought, that is so true. Like with our 3 girls, Kelsey, who's the youngest, would usually come in and tell me everything that had happened in the
mm-hmm.
day. I didn't have to ask a lot of questions. She was just talkative. Paige wasn't quite as much, but if I asked enough questions, things would come out. Leslie, she was the hardest to communicate with because she's more reserved, kind of
mm-hmm.
like you.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we could spend hours before whatever was bothering her would come out. And I just learned over the years, I'd go into a room and I'd just let her talk.
Yeah.
And finally, a lot of time later, something would come out that was bothering her.
I've heard you say this even recently, and Leslie's now a 40-year-old lady, but you'll say, Leslie has to talk on her own terms. She has to find the time. And I've come home at times and I said, Linda, what have you been doing this afternoon? I've been talking to Leslie. She was driving somewhere, and she called me, and she just began to talk. Yeah. And it's during that time that we have to realize we better take this opportunity seriously and really listen.
And it's like that at all ages of their life.
Yeah.
You know, they're just all different.
Yeah.
But listen to them because they have great things to say.
You know, this thing about our kids being different, I think as parents, one of the main responsibilities we have is to bring them to maturity. The Bible says in Luke chapter 2, verse 52, it says, Jesus grew in wisdom, in stature, in favor with God, and in favor with man. I think those are 4 areas that we have to bring them as parents. We try to parent them where they gain wisdom, common sense, where they're making wise choices and wise decisions. We want them to grow in their character. Their character is strong. They have a strong relationship with God. They know how to relate to other people. That's part of parenting. And to be successful in doing that, we need to understand who our child is as an individual, mm-hmm. because they're all different.
Yeah.
I know years ago we read a book, Kevin Lehman, I think, was the author of a book talking about the birth order of a family, of the siblings in a family. And it really helped us because Paige, being the firstborn, we needed to parent her in a certain way and hear her heart in a certain way so we could steer her in the right direction. The same's true with the secondborn, the thirdborn, and so on. We've got to understand who they are as a unique individual.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the calling of God on our children. I think God calls every one of us, and those callings are important. Mm-hmm. How do we help our kids discern that and find that calling for themselves?
Well, I think probably the first thing is you've got to be sure they know how to hear the voice of God.
Wow.
And I think that comes through us teaching them. It comes through example. We talk to them about, I heard God say this. And then they'll start asking questions. But they've got to learn to hear the voice of God for themselves. I remember through the years, I don't remember which one we were talking about, they were kind of making a big decision. And I was real hesitant. I said, Jackie, I think they're missing it. And you took a day or two to think about it and pray about it, and you came back and you said, we have taught them to hear the voice of God. Now we have to trust them.
Wow.
And that was so hard for me as a mom because, and she was almost grown by that point. But, you know, as parents, we like to have a lot of input in our kids' lives. And we have to realize they come to the point, if they know how to hear God's voice, they don't need to hear ours as much. So,
how does parenting change when you go from parenting your kids to being a grandparent and parenting? I know it's different. We're not the main person responsible when there are grandkids, but how do we do that successfully?
Well, I don't know if I do it successfully. I love it. Grandkids are just the greatest. And kids were too. But with grandkids, you don't have the responsibility you had as a parent. So you can have more fun with them. They give me a hard time because Will, who's our youngest, I used to keep him one afternoon a week after school. And I always took him to Target and bought him toys. And they're like, really? You didn't buy toys for the older ones? I'm like,
we didn't have the money.
Well, we didn't have the money, and there was a bunch of them. And, you know, I don't know, you spoil them, but I don't know. It's just a whole different kind of love.
Yeah.
It's just a joy. You
Yeah.
know? But I do think that's because we don't have that overriding responsibility we have of raising.
Right.
I'm not raising them. Their parents are.
Yeah.
So.
You know, when we were given the task of doing this podcast, one of the things they said, well, why don't you just tell people your top 3 secrets of being a good parent? And so I kind of thought about that, and here's what I want to say to our listeners. The first thing is this. I think to be successful in parenting, you have to be very consistent. You can't, and you have to be a team. Lynn and I have to be a team. We have to be united, consistent in our words, consistent in our lifestyle. We established the culture of our home. It was never a question on Sunday morning, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to go to church. There was no other option for the kids to say, oh, I'm not going to do that today. I don't want to. We just developed that as a consistent part of who we were. This is how the Whites live their life. And I think even consistency with discipline, being careful how we discipline, being sure that our emotions were under control when we discipline, all of those things are very, very important. Got anything to add to that?
Not really. I mean, discipline's a huge part of parenting, and I've made mistakes along the way.
Right.
But I think it's just being consistent, you know. You don't make this a rule one day and tomorrow it's just no big deal.
Yeah.
They've got to know their boundaries because that's a safety for them.
Yeah.
It makes our kids feel safe, I think. But it's a challenge. Discipline's a challenge.
It really is.
Because they all respond to different types of discipline, you know.
Wow.
So.
Well, this has been good. Hopefully it's helped our families. We're talking about having successful families and building strong families in the Lord. I'm going to say one more thing that I felt like the Lord put on my heart to share with everyone. There was a time when I wanted to be a strong spiritual influence in my home, a strong father figure leading the family in the right way. And it was back during the Bill Gothard days, and I bought the Bill Gothard placemats. You say, what are you talking about? Well, they were these plastic placemats that we used every night at dinner. And the placemats had all kinds of things on them, certain devotional things that we would talk. And I was determined to have a daily devotional with my family. And what I found very quickly is that didn't really fit our lifestyle. We weren't always at the table at the same time. We had too many activities going on. And one of the things that I began to ask God to help me with is to just be consistent in the way I lived my life, in the way I treated my family, in the way that I treated other people, because I knew my daughters were watching me at all times. And devotion wasn't a 30-minute period of each day, but devotion happened moment by moment, day by day, a consistent lifestyle of devotion. And for those parents who are struggling, wondering, how do I teach my kids when we're so busy, we're so active? Just remember that. You're teaching them always. They're always watching you. They listen. Even when you think they're not listening, they're listening to what you're saying, to how you're living your life. So you're parenting them by example. So I encourage you with that. And I believe we're going to see great. I know the world's different. I know there's a lot of challenges. We're going to see great families raised up today, families that love God, and children that are serving the Lord with all their hearts. Linda, thank you again. Thanks for being on the podcast, but thanks for being my wife and the mother of my children. I appreciate you and love you so much. God bless you. Thanks for watching today.